Hey there, everyone. Daniel Lowry back with another episode in our Learning Python by Building Hacky Things series. I feel like I keep elongating the name of this series, but hey, I'm trying to be descriptive here. I'm trying to let you know that we're going to learn Python, we're going to build hack stuff, and that's how it works. So hopefully, if you've been following along with me thus far, you do have a working hacky thing, right? It's a brute force login, it's kicking the BWAP's butt. And it's super, super cool. But that said, there's still some gold to mine in this thing. I've got some stuff I got to do to it because right now there's a lot of repetitive code, and this is going to give us an opportunity to look at creating custom functions. What else are we going to be able to do with this? We got a lot to work with, honestly, today, because we need to make this better. I still think we have some issues when it comes to whether or not someone reuses an argument from the command line. So you could do 3-use if you wanted to, and it wouldn't complain. It would just kind of break things. So we kind of want to fix that if we can, at least to some extent. But hey, that's what the name of the game is about. So today we're definitely going to take a look at functions. We're probably going to use something like set. We're going to mess around with indices. Again, I think slices are going to come into play here. I'm just kind of working it through my head on how this is going to go. But yeah, I say we quit with the chitta-chatta and we get to the thing, right? So here's our code from the last episode. Does all the fun stuff. And like I said, you can see here, like, right, there is a match case brick, a block, however you want to call it. There's another one, and you'll notice they're fairly similar. There's only one real difference, and that's this sys.argv1 and sys.argv2. Down here, everything is the same except it's sys.argv3 and sys.argv4. And then here, we've got sys.argv5 and sys.argv6. So that is the issue, right? We've got a bunch of repetitive code, and as we learned from the refactoring episode, that is prime real estate for doing something better. Maybe there's a better way to do this. Maybe not, but maybe there is, and I think there is, and that will be functions. Before we get too crazy, though, you know what I want to do? I really enjoyed this. Thought that was fun. That's what allows us to run our code. So / brute force -v9, will it? Yeah. And then do the -u. I'll show you what it does. I got to type all this in, right? HTTP /192.168.1.163, if I'm not mistaken, bwap login.php -l user names.txt and -w, which is passwords.txt, right? And then it runs. And what that little block did was this right here. And that's so cool. I love that. That's just neat. I want to add a little bit more. I think it would be cool to colorize like the usernames and passwords and the target URL. So let's just have some fun right out of the gate and do some colorization. And as you remember, it starts off with /33, then you give it a color code and followed by an M, and then anything after that will be that color. Actually, that's the background color, but that's cool. We're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to go up here to this target URL and do /33 and then open bracket, which that was 41, I think is red. Yeah, 41 is red. So let's go 42, 43, 44, and just for fun and see what that does. So we'll do 42M, and then we got to come over here and /33, open bracket 0M. That goes back to black. We're going to do that again, /33, open bracket, we're on 43M, and then, of course, /33, open bracket 0M, and then finally, just checking to make sure I don't have a typo there, /33, open brackets, we're on 44, yeah, 44M, and then take us back to black with /33, open bracket 0. All right, I'm gonna rev because we're making some changes here. I don't want to mess around with version 9. Version 9 is good as it is. If I'm making major changes here, which even though this is a minor one, all the changes today will be a part of version 10. So let's make version 10. So file, save as, brute force v10, and save. Cool. Now we're working with V10. We can do whatever we want. Let's rerun and see what happens. Did not like that for whatever reason. It did not. Oh, you know why? Because I ran V9. You're running V10 now, Daniel? You just did the thing. All right, let's try that. Permission denied. Why is permission denied? That's a funny thing. What happened here? ls-al, ls-al. We have but where is V10? Oh, I didn't chmod it. Oh man, I'm trying to get ahead of myself today. That's what I'm doing. Chmod plus x brute force dash V10. Now let's see what happens when I write. There we whoa. I must have missed something, right? Because everything's still blue. It didn't go back to black. And plus, this looks like puke. This looks horrible. Okay, V10, what did we do wrong here, sir? Let's see here. So we've got open slash blah, 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 slash 33. I forgot the M. Simple little character. Gets you every time. Got me right there, though, didn't it? So Control S, that's cool. Debugging on the fly is fun. Try it one more time. Oh, that's much better. Still pukey, though, right? Even though the blue is nice, these two colors together do not look very attractive. It looks like a pile of vomit with a blue plate. So we are going to fix that. Let's just kind of run through. Let's see here. Let's try changing this from 43 to 45. Let's see what that is. Control S. And okay, that looks way better. That looks so much better. It's not even funny. I can handle the green, the booger green, but with that yellow, that like baby diarrhea yellow, that was not working. That was gross. But this works. This looks fine. I like this. We'll stick with that. It's just to add a little more fun, right? A little more pizzazz. I don't like that that's off center. So I'm going to add, these are, listen, kids, your Uncle Dan has a problem. He does not like stuff like that. It just bothers me. Try this one more time. Much better. Mucho better. I like this. This is cool. I can roll with this. So cool. Now we've got that. And now that we've had our fun, let's move on to what we need to do. So I am going to show you guys how to create a function, a custom function inside your Python. Going to be awesome. You're going to love it because it's going to help us reduce some code when it comes to working with that case statement. And instead of writing a case statement for every possibility, we'll have one case statement or one case block, one match case block that allows us to call it when we need it, feed it the information that it needs to do the comparison, and then spit back out anything we need from it, right? So that's what we're going to work on right now. So like I said, I want to take all these different match case blocks and turn it into one function that does match case for these sys.argv arguments. And the way we do that is you find some area near the top of your script. I'm going to go right underneath this banner. You typically want your functions to be near the top of your scripts. So right past where you're starting to import things. It needs to be above. You need to have already defined your function before it is called. So it's really easy to just say, hey, I'm going to make all my functions near the top of my script so that as I call them below, they are there to be called. They're already defined. They have meaning. Okay. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to go below this banner and I'm going to define my function. I'm going to call it, well, we're doing match case stuff. So I'll do it case check. I like it. Open, close parentheses, colon, you got yourself a function. Python, get mad. You try to call it right now. But if you wanted to, what you would do is you would just, if I wanted to call this, I would just call case check like that. And it would run. There's nothing in there right now, so it's not going to do anything. But that's how you would reference this new function. Now let's actually give this thing some teeth, right? Let's give it some capabilities. So what I'm going to do is, you know it. Oh yeah, we're getting ready to get down and dirty because you know what I like to do, cause myself a lot of problems by copying and pasting. That's what I do. And you're yelling at your screen, and that's okay, but I'm going to cut and I'm going to paste because that's what I do, whether it's good for me or not. Okay. So now at least we have something in our function, this case check function. And guess what I'm going to do with the rest of this? Anybody? Bueller? I am going to delete it. Mine is an evil laugh. And there we go. So now that is all gone. So let's take a look at like what's going to happen now that this code has changed a little bit. What's going to happen is this is just going to get basically ignored because it's not being called. It hasn't been called at all. Remember, we removed that call for it. And it's going to look at sys.argv. It's going to check the length of sys.argv, and it's going to make sure that it equals 7. And then it's going to do what? Nothing. So if we give it command line arguments at this point, it does nothing. So under this if statement would be a really good place to put case check. Like that. That is how that would work. So if we do have 7 arguments on the command line from sys.argv, then, hey, cool. We get to call that function. So case check would then be employed. It would run through the match case system, doing all the things that it's been defined to do. But the problem right now, right? Match case sys.argv1. So what will happen, right? If we think about this logically in our head, if we just run case check and it runs match sys.argv1, okay, what's going to happen there? I don't even know if I need that. Let me see here. We'll just use this. So sys.argv1 in this case would be -u. So back at the code, we look at that. It would do this and it would make this, and this would fill out and it would be awesome. But guess what would happen after that? It would jump because this was valid. It would jump down to the next block of code, which would be to print F. And that would go no. That would not work. The only thing we would have here is this. And then everything else, we would get an error because then we would try to open some files. And since we don't have any defined file names, it would, relieve itself where it sleeps. That's a nice way of saying modern colloquialism. It would defecate in its own slumber chamber. That's how that works. And we don't want that. So we now have to say, okay, I can't take in sys.argv1. I need to take in, well, I mean, that's an interesting thing, right? So what we need to do is, since I can't take in sys.argv1, I need to break things up into pairs, right? Because if we're looking at the script, like -u and then the URL that goes along with it, the value for -u, it kind of works in conjunction with each other. If I put something other than a URL there, it in the context of our script, that doesn't make any sense. And the same goes for -l. It's a little less bad with -l and -w. I mean, unless I try to use like an HTTP, it's going to say, hey, that file isn't found. I don't find a file called HTTP. Or if there's not a file here, yeah, it could still get weird. But ultimately, this and this work together. This and that work together. I don't like that overscrolls so much. There we go. Just for ease of vision here. So -l and usernames.txt work together. -w and whatever the password file is going to be works together. They're pairs. They are peas in a pod, right? Peanut butter and jelly. So we've got to make that like that. We've got to tell the system to look for those two pairs. The question is, how do we do that? Okay. I'm feeling like we need to employ slices. I think a slice is what's going to help us here. So how do we do that? So in Python, a slice, let's do Python slice documentation, right? Slice objects. So let's see if it'll help us out here. This is fun. I don't know if this is exactly what we're looking for. I don't think it is, honestly. Python slice, ellipses. Yeah, I don't think this is actually what we're looking for. Let's see here. Built-in functions. I think it's a built-in function. Oh, right there. Bam. We found it. This is what we're looking for. So we have this slice business with start, stop, and step. And the default for step is none. Right? I think so. Return a slice object representing the set of indices, right? An index specified by the range start, stop, step. The start and step arguments default to none, so I was right about that. Slice objects have read-only attributes. That's fine. Start, stop, and step, which merely return the argument values or their defaults. They have no other explicit functionality, blah, 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 blah. So the interesting thing about this is that we can use that in our list, right? We've done this before. We're actually technically doing it. Let's go back. Where are we at? We're technically doing something like that here, where we have the list. So sys.argv is a list. That is its data type. And right now I'm telling it, hey, give me out of the index, give me the position number 1, not position 0, but position number 1. Because remember, position 0, while it is the first position, is the script name. Position 1 will be a dash something. Position 2 will be the value for the dash something, and so on and so forth. So we're taking that there, but we can kind of mess with that using slice-like functionality. Super cool. So what we would do is, all right, here's my thought on this. Bear with me. I'm going to create a list, all args, and it's going to equal sys.argv, and then I'm going to do this business. You ready for this? I'm going to do that. You're like, okay, what are we looking at here? Let me get back to where that was. What's going on here is I'm using a Python slice to say, hey, go from position. This is where the stinking 0 index thing gets me all jacked up. So you have 0, 1, and 2. I want 1, right? So if I put 1 there, that's what's going to give me. I want to go from 1, and then I want to go all the way to the end, right? So if I just give it this colon, it's going to assume like, okay, cool. You want everything from here and beyond to the end of this. That's how that works. And I can kind of show you that here if we're playing around with Python. So let's make a list. It equals A, B, C, D, E. Booyah. That looks, I'll go one more. What the heck? I like a nice list. F. Cool. Right? So I've got my list. If I type in list, I get the list, right? Everything's there. If I want to start with B and get all of this, so basically I want to exclude A, I would do list 1 colon close, and look, no more A, only B through F. Because it said start, this is 0. I want you to start with 1. And then give me everything after that. That's what that colon means. If I were to have given it a colon and then another index, right? So let's say I wanted to go to E. I want E in this. So let's see here. Actually, it would be here because I'm going from list. It would go, okay, start with B. I want C, D, and E. So I need 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you'd be tempted to say 4, right? You'd be thinking, hey, that's what's up. But as you can see, that did not bring home the bacon at all. Why is that? And that is because when you do a slice, the last item in your little list there is non-inclusive. That is why I did not put, when we looked at this, that's why I didn't put the end there. It's implied that with this type of language, and this is just a little trick, right? It's implied that since there is no end, I want all the way to the end. And that's just something you're learning right now. Isn't that fun? I'm sure there's reasoning behind why that is, but ultimately, you just need to brute force memorize that. So then, when I went from 1 to 4, 4 is not inclusive. It does not get included. So I went from 1, 2, 3, 4, which wasn't included. Therefore, we got BCD. There is BCD. This is just a fun little game. If I'm at the very end, if I wanted F, watch this. This is going to be fun. So list, let's see if we can get, what is that? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's do list 5. Let's see what happens. Cool. It just gives me that. But what if I wanted to get E and F and I did something like this? 4 and 5. You'll notice it only gives me E. See, that wouldn't work. That's why you got to do that lovely little, that business right there. And that will grab up the last thing. You'll also get this out of range index thing from time to time. Would be surprised if we run into that today. When and if we do, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Ultimately, it comes from the fact that if you're trying to grab something, a lot of times it will tell you, hey, that's out of bounds. That's not in the list because of how all this stupid indexing works. Ha! Annoying, but it is what it is. All right. So with that, now that I've got this sys.argv 1:, you understand what's going on there, right? I'm leaving off that script name, right? So brute force -v10.py is, I don't need that. It's in the way. I don't want to have to work around it. I just need all the command line parameters that were passed with the script. So I'm making a new list based off of the sys.argv list, and I'm excluding this is fun, isn't it? I'm excluding the script name. That's what's going on right there. Cool. Now that I have that, I want to break these things up because as you remember, what did I do? Where was that at? Over here. I want to make these pairs. I want -u with a value. I want -l with a value. And the value for that command line flag should always be directly after, it should be in the next positional spot. So I'm assuming that these pairs are there, okay? I'm sure that'll never bite me in the butt, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, so to do this, I don't know why I opened that. It was a mistake. To do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically go like args 1 and 2, args 3 and 4, and args 5 and 6, because on this, so there's 0, I want to grab 1 and 2, and this will be 3 and 4, and this will be 5 and 6. Now I'm realizing that this is about to get weird because all args, this is basically this. It doesn't have this part on it. It is this list. That's what all args is because it started with here. So this in all args, the U, that is 0. That is 1. That is 2. So it would be, technically it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, and 4, 5. But since in the original list it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think that might, at least for my brain, work better. Feel free to change it. If you want to do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by all means, go crazy. But I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 because that makes more sense to me. So I'm going to equal, and that is going to be sys.argv, and we're going to use our slice, and that is going to be, no, not sys.argv. It's going to be all args, Daniel. All args, and that is going to be 0 to 2, right? And remember why. Because 2 is not included. So 0 and 1 go together. Those are the two things. Bam, 2 will be chopped off. If I did 0 to 1, we would not get 1. It would be gone. So you have to go 1 beyond. Okay? Okay. That's fun. All right, let's see here. Let's do equals. Did I do that right? Oh, man, that is not right. That's, yeah, there we go. I was using tabs like a crazy person. All args. And that is going to be 2 to 4. I think that's right. So I got 0, 1. I got that. So I need 2 and 3. So I have to add 4. So that's correct. Right. This will get your head turned around. Isn't it fun? Equals all args. And then I'm just going to, so I need, that will be 4 and 5. So 4 and 5. Like so. Okay. Let's do this. We need to really test some of this stuff because if we don't, it's going to get away from us. Well, actually, we need to. Yeah, man, there's a lot to this. My brain is cooking right now. So I'm working my way through this. We've got all args, which is a list based off of sys.argv, and it does not include the script name. Cool. We've got args 1, 2. We've got args 3, 4. We've got args 5 and 6. And they are calling straight from all args with the 0 and 1st, 2nd and 3rd, 4th and 5th thing. Cool. Then it's going to bust into case check, which is going to be fun. But let me think here. Yeah, I'm just making sure we're all like hammered down. I think that now what we need to do is go up into case check. Let's start messing with case check at this point, because I think that this is all going to work. Because what I want to do is I want to take all args and basically I'm going to pass, and this is a fun little thing. You're about to learn something cool. I need to pass args 1, 2 to case check, right? So I'm going to do case check. This is what I want to do here. Give it a little space for better readability. And I will do args 1, 2. So what that's going to do is it's going to say, hey, take whatever args 1, 2 is and chuck it up here to case check. Now I need something to catch case check. So I'm going to have to put a parameter in here. And that's where that parameter goes. I can make it anything I want. I can make it Flagga Fluga, right? ASDJFL, whatever. That doesn't make a lot of sense, so I wouldn't suggest it. I'm going to use something, I think I'll just call it args, right? Because in this is really only within this context. So I can use args here. I'm not using args anywhere else. Right, we've got all args, we've got args 1, 2, args 3, 4, args 4, 5, and 6. But within this context, we're not really using any of that stuff. We're going to change a lot of this here in just a moment. So now, instead of matching to sys.argv1, what I'm going to do is match, because you got to remember, args 1 and 2 is a list of 2 things. It's a 2-thing list, which you could do a tuple. You technically could do a tuple, right? You could call this a tuple like this. Bing, 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 and do that. That would be totally allowable. I don't think we need that. Tuples are so, this is fun. So with the list, you've got a mutable bucket of stuff, right? And it's typically in an order. But with a tuple, you can't change. It's immutable, if I'm remembering correctly, right? And we can look this up. We'll go in here. We just Like, right, Python tuples. And yeah, thank you, AI. What we're looking for is documentation. Probably going to get a lot of, hey, oh, here we go. Data structures. That's where we're at. Data structures and booyah, tuples. Tuples and sequences. We saw that lists and strings have many common properties, such as indexing and slicing operations, which we have used. They are two examples of sequence data types, right? Lists, tuples, and range. Since Python is an evolving language, other sequence data types may be added. There is also another standard sequence data type, the tuple. A tuple consists of a number of values separated by commas, for instance. And they show you how to make a tuple, right? Or you can just basically like call things a tuple by calling it a tuple, assigning it the tuple. Where's that at? Is it going to show you that one? It doesn't look like it, but it is not mutable, right? It does not change. I think that's the big deal. It says, as you can see, output tuples are always enclosed in parentheses so that nested tuples are interpreted correctly. They may input or output surrounding parentheses, also blah, 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 blah. Assign individual tuples. However, it's possible to create tuples within which contain mutable objects such as lists, right? The tuples may seem similar to lists. They're often used in different situations for different purposes. Tuples are immutable. There it is. Psh. Usually contain heterogeneous sequence of elements that are accessed via unpacking or indexing, blah, 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 blah. So like I said, lists are mutable, which means they can change. If you really don't want something to change, you can make it a tuple. So we would change this. That's one way of doing a tuple, but I'm not doing it like that. I'm just going to take that out. I just wanted you to know that was a possibility. So there we go. There's tuples for you, right? Tuples are fun. Who doesn't like a good tuple? I know I sure do. But now we've got this. So here we go back to the story. Sending args1 to, right? And then we're going to do it again. We're going to say case check. And we're going to send, I cannot do this. There it is. Args34. And then we're going to send case check args56. Like so, right? And so it's going to run this one first. It's going to return whatever they get here. And so we need to, since we have, so this is the pitcher, right? He's on the mound, the pitching mound. Args 1-2 throws the first pitch. The catcher, args, grabs whatever that is, looks inside of it and says, oh, you got two values here. This is a list. So I'm changing this to args because that is our new list that we're working with. So args here, I don't want 1, I want 0. I want the first value in that 2-item list. And then I'm just going to come over here and change all these to 1. Change these to 1, and hopefully you know why that is. I'm going to change them, and then we'll talk about that. All right, right? Because it's 2 values. You got 0, you got 1. This is going to get case checked. So is args 0 a -u? If it is, make target URL 1. But we've got, right? We're still in sys.argv, so that's not right. We need to say args. So we're going to have to change all these too. That's cool. We can do it. Args. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Args. All right, now that's looking a whole lot better. So at this point, we should have target URL equals args, login names file equals args, password file is args. Cools. And then it should run the second one, which is args34, and then args56, which is right here. I'm sorry. Bing, bing, bing. All right, I'm gonna Control S this. I just want to see how this works because at least we have a function. It should have all the right items here. There we go. Make that a little more real. That was getting funky there in the in the screen. So this all should run every time it's called. Are you ready? I feel like it'll break, but that's fun. Then we'll troubleshoot. Okay, we got our error. Oh, I told you, dog. List index out of range, args1. Okay, now why is that? why is args1? And now this is saying that args56 is our problem. So that's interesting. So that means we got through args1, 2, args3, and 4, but args5 and 6, it said 9. Yet. It says the list index is out of range. I told you this was going to come up and get us. So why is that? Right? So args56, let's go look at args56, which is this one right here. So 4 and 5. Now, when we did this over here, it seemed to work, right? Oh, no, it didn't. Duh. There's the problem, right? When I did list 4 and 5 here, only E showed up. I had to do list 4, right? Start here, slurp up everything after that. And that's how we got E and F. So there's my problem right there. I don't need that. I need this. That should be better. Let's see if we get this right. All right, I saved. Let's see if this works a little better. Of course, we'll debug. Okay, we got another problem here. It says the target URL, right? It says target URL is not defined. Interesting. How is that possible? Why is that? Okay, let's go look. So it's saying, hey, target URL equals this, right? But we have target URL right here. So why is it not getting that? It doesn't make sense, right? And well, this is where we run into global and local variables. We've got a global variable, which is target URL, but we're having trouble with it, right? It's not getting assigned what it should be getting assigned. And that is unfortunate, right? And that's because what we're seeing here is that target URL it's not able to ingest this args1 business. Why is that? That is because I don't know. Why can't it do that? That's a good question. Why can it not take in that? Let's go look at our error again. All right, name target URL is not defined. Hold on. Okay, it says it's not defined. That's exactly right. Duh. My mind just okay, I love it when things start coming back together. So the reason it says that the target URL is not defined, even though we defined it, is because it's not getting used at the right point in time, I think. I think that is the problem. You know what? Let's mess around with this. Let's do this. Let's print out here. Okay, should we do this? Let's do this. I guess this is where we need to do this. If that is where it gets its value, let's print. Bing F. Or no, I don't have to do that. I just say target URL. There we go. Let's see what happens there. Control S. I love debugging. It's fun. All right. So it did get a value, right? But it's still saying target URL is not defined. So if it has a value there, why is it not passing it? It's not passing it back. It's not getting outside of that function. That seems to be our problem right there. Okay, that's fun. So how do we get it out? How do we get that out? Let's see here. Okay, so this looks like we're getting into the whole global local variables thing. So a global variable is anything, right? If I go here and I define a variable outside, right? And I just call it my var1, right? Equals, and if I want it to be a list, that's fine. If I want it to be a string, that's fine. I can make it whatever I like. But it is defined, and that is global. Anything can access it. This seems like it should be able to get here, but it's not. And that's interesting to me. Why? It's like because target URL is defined under, that's why. It's a local variable here. where it gets defined is within the context of our function. Words, they're hard. And therefore, when we get out here, outside into the global area, see, this is seeing target URL as a local variable, not a global variable, because it is defined here before we get to it here. And here, it can't look into this and see it. So we've got to export this value somehow into the global arena. Okay, this has just gotten really fun. Okay, so to do that, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this. I'm going to just call it TURL, right? That's fine. TURL. I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to call this L names file, and I'm going to call this P file. Like that. Remember, those are now all there, even though they were before, but we're not reusing the names. That would be confusing, right? It's like, that's why it was confusing me. Why isn't this seeing this? Oh, that's right. Because even though I'm calling those variables the same name, and I can even print that because it's printing with inside the context of itself, right? That's one is a local and one is a global. And since they're different, I can reuse the same names. And we don't like doing that. So don't reuse the same names inside of your local variables. You can if you're going to export though, right? Because we're using, it is the same thing. It's not two different things with the same name. It's referencing something that is global within the context of the function. Woof, this is getting crazy. Okay. From here, so now that we have these TURLs, I can get this print statement out of here. I don't need that. I need to get that out of there. So I need a global something or other. How do I want to do this? I feel like building a list. Right. Because you know what else I want to do? Ooh, I just thought of something. What I want to do is, with our previous code, I could do -u HTTP BWAP so-and-so. Then I could do -u username. And then I could do -u passwords. And it would go, hey, the thing here is broken. I do not know why for you have all these things with the -u, right? Because every time we did -u with a different value, it would destroy the previous value that it thought it was. That's not what we want. I want non-repeating values. I want to take away the user's ability to give me garbage, right? To reuse values. I need a non-duplicate list of values. Whereas I can't stop them from doing it on the command line, but what I can do is say, if I see you doing that, you get a slap on the hand, and here's a prompt instead. Obviously, you don't know how to follow the rules. Kindergarten was not your best subject. So, how do we do that? All right, brain, you're cooking. We need to go here. This is where we're going. Because right now we have if the length of sys.argv equals 7, right? So I get all 7 parameters, the script, the dash, the value, the dash, the value, the dash, the value. That's 7. So it needs to be 7 things, not 8, not 6, not 20, not 1. It needs to be that. Otherwise, if it's not 7, you get prompted. Right? But I also need it to look for duplicates. And I want those both things to be true. There must be 7 objects and there must be no duplicates. Right? So I'm going to use a logical and. And. Fun. You can also have or, right? So you can have either have if this and this are true, zang, or if this is true and that is false, zang, or if this is false and that is false, zang. Do the stuff. You have fun building it the way you like. For us, though, I need it to be, there must be 7 things in sys.argv, and there must be no duplicate things in sys.argv. The or would be this or this are true, or this is true, or that is not true, or this is not true and that is true, or this is not true, or that is not true. You get the idea. Fun, isn't it? Don't you enjoy this? This is why people go, I give up, coding dumb. I'm going to go be a sysadmin. I totally get that. I totally get that. This is what kept me from this for a long time. So I don't want or, I want and I'm going to just do, let's see here. It seems like I would do sys.argv is equal to, and this is where we're going to use set. Set is fun, right? Let me show you set real quick. Let's go over here, Python set, bang, documentation. Data structures. Click here. There they are, sets. Booyah. Python also includes data type for sets, or a data type for sets. A set is an unordered collection with no duplicate elements. No duplicate elements. Basic uses include membership testing, blah, 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 right? But here's how you can create these things with set. I think you can just basically call set. Yeah. So set, open, close parentheses, and anything in there, whether that be a list, whether that just be a string of text, cannot have duplicates. It doesn't like duplicates. It will take them out. It will remove them. So it feels like this would be right. So if we go set and within there we do sys.argv, right? So that would say, hey, I don't have any duplicates. So they must equal each other. The only problem here is if we go back, right, it says a set is an unordered collection. That means that the way it slurped it in doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the way that it has it in its collection. It's unordered, right? Let's do this. So we've got, let's do set. Well, first, let's tell you this. Do list, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, bam. If I do set list, look what it did. C, D, A, B, F, E. Now, there's no duplicates, so nothing got removed. If I were to list.append, if I can spell append, with some sort of value, like let's throw in EF, let's throw G in there, right? And I do list. You see we now have G. But what if I added another G? List.append, add another G. I do list again. You see I've got two G's. Now if I do set list, there's only one G in here. And it's in some rando order. Just goes crazy. So that's not going to work. What you said, what's not going to work? sys.argv it's not changing. It's the way it got slurped in from the command line. If I throw set around it, it's just going to jumble it all up. And therefore, these two things are not going to equal each other. So what I need to do is find some other way to make sure that everything is cool. Now, because set removes duplicates, and that's really what I'm looking for, I should just be able to make sure that there are all the same elements, or as many elements, and that should be fine. So I should be able to just throw len on that and then throw that like that. And I feel like that should work. So now it has to have all those things for any of this to work. And of course, yeah, we fixed the problem with grabbing to the end of the file, the out of bounds business. Let's see if this works. So I'm going to Control S this. Let's go here. Oh man, are we going to get in trouble? Let's see. Oh, ooh, okay. Okay, we made it some way, right? Because we've got this brute force v10.py, like everything looks good, but you'll notice it's giving me enter target URL. Okay, so that means it did not like our if block, even though I feel like it should. So let's think here. Oh, duh. Looking at the code, Daniel, look at that. It's got to be the len of both of these things. You crazy kook. Save that, right? Because I want to just, if this has, right, if it equals 7 and those 7 things are the same as these 7 things, we should be gravy. That's basically what's going on here. All right, let's try that again. Control C and let's go one more time. Okay, that's cool. Right, and that's exactly where we should be. This is, I'm not crazy. It's not defined because we have not exported that out yet. We have not gotten to that yet. Man, there's a lot going on with this. It's a lot more complex, right? But it's very useful stuff. All right, so let's see here. From here, we need to get this stuff out. We started to do that, but then I got stuck on this. This jumped into my head. That's cool. All right. Plus, I'm not really digging. I think we want to do this a little more pythonic, which we'll get back to. But I think we've solved this mystery, and we need to solve this mystery. How do we get this to here, right? I need to be able to define target URL equals something here, right? I need to do the same thing with login names file equals something here. And passwords file needs to equal something here. So how are we going to get this out of here? Okay, so thinking globally, what I want to do then is I'm going to create another list. I think I'll just put it right here. There we go. And it's basically, this is going to be a list that, so what I want to do, let's see if you can follow my logic here. What I want to do is I want to grab whatever is going on here, right? I need another list. That's what I need. Because while, yes, this is all good, I need to be able to go, hey, whatever this was and this value, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to force, this is where I'm going. Okay. You're probably like, Daniel, you are a crazy person. I am, because I'm literally working through this in real time. What I'm going to do is any user could start with -L, they could start with -W, they could start with -U, they could do it in any order they like. And I like that. I want to retain that. But in the context of the script, that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. That gets a little too confusing. So what I want to do is let them give me any order, but I'm going to rearrange the order so that it's always -U value, -L value, -W value. So I'm going to create a list. I'm going to use case to figure out what the first thing is with the value that goes along with it. And I'm going to put it in the list and make it be the first thing. Right? We're going to force stuff. Eat that stinking thing. Okay. So I'm just trying to think of how we're going to do it. Okay. Yes. So ultimately, and I don't need the U, I don't need the L. Ultimately, I don't even need that. I just need those values. So let me grab those values and then pass that to, yes, it's all coming to me now. It all makes sense. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to create this bucket. I'm going to call it, I could call it bucket if I want, but I don't like, I'm going to have a little more fun. Let's call it bag of donuts. Donuts. Fun. Equals nothing. It's just an empty list, right? Follow me. What I want target URL to be is going to be that bag of donuts, right? I want to say in the 0 position, it's going to be the target URL. In the 1 position, it's going to be the usernames file. And in the 2 position, it's going to be the passwords file, right? So this is ultimately going to be bag o donuts 0, right? Because that's going to be, we're going to make it be that. Or we're going to say bag o donuts. That's going to be 1. And then finally, bag o donuts. That's going to be 2. Because I'm going to force these things to be true. by doing it up here. So if it is you, then I'm going to say bag o donuts. And that is going to, I guess I need to append to 0. It's all coming to me, right? That's how I want to do that, right? Append to 0. Oh, yes. But it's going to be TURL. Append 0, yes? Oh, let me see here. I'm thinking my way through it here. Do I want it? No, I don't want to append. I'm using the wrong thing there. It's going to be insert. Insert, because I want to tell it. That's the first thing that was kind of getting my brain. And then this is going to be, since I'm doing an insert, it's not a list. Duh. This is just a value like this. And that's going to be 0. And I'm going to give it TURL. That's how that works. So the insert, and we can see that. If you're like, Daniel, how did you know that? Because I read the Python documentation. Python insert list.insert documentation. Bing, 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 bing. There it is right there. Data structures. I have read these things before. There it is, list.insert, right? So I'm working on a list, which is bag of donuts. That's what was getting me in the head. Insert an item in a given position. This is where I want it to go. The first argument is the index of the element, 0, before which to insert, right? It inserts in front of us. The second thing is the thing you want to insert. So I don't know if you can see right there, right? So a.insert, you have a list called A, you're going to run the method insert, and the index of 0, so the first thing in that list is going to be whatever the heck X is. And that is what we're doing here. I've got a list called bag of donuts. I'm using the method of insert. At the index of 0, I am sending it whatever is in TURL, which is args1, which comes from the args, which came from here, which came from here. Like, this is a long line of succession to get to where we're going. This, my eye is itching. It's crazy. I know this is a super long episode, but whoa, we're too far down the rabbit hole to give up now, honestly, kiddos. So there we go. We are sending TURL to that position, inserting it into bag of donuts. We are going to do the same thing right here. So bag o donuts dot insert. Open that up. That's going to go into 1. I don't know what happened here, but that is craziness. Insert. I clicked the wrong thing there, didn't I? I just happened to catch that with my eye. Much better. Insert. And insert. Insert. What is happening? Insert. Goodness. All right. Well, that's going to be names file. Names file. I'm getting punchy with what it is. We've been at this a hot minute. If you're still hanging in there, God bless you. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Bag o donuts dot insert. Okay, there's that. That's going to be 2, and that's going to be p file. Bammo. Savo. Okay. That should all be ready to rock, honestly. Right? Because now we are defining what target URL is by bag of donuts, which is going to be eventually, as it works its way through all these case checks, that's going to be a filled out list because it's going to add that 0. It's going to add that 1. It's going to add that 2 in here. Whew. Okay. I saved it, right? Saved it. Okay, let's try it. Let's try it. Here we go. Holy Moses, it works. Booyah. Oh, man, doesn't that feel good inside when it's eat it, stupid script? Oh, that was fun. We had a good time. I told you I was going to do one more Pythonic thing before we left. I'm going to do it because I can't help myself. This right here, yeah, that's fine. But I'm gonna do a little bit of that. I'm gonna do a little bit of that. And we're gonna do this more like Python people do, right? And we're gonna do like let me see here. It's gonna be a for loop. So we're just gonna basically for loop our way through it. So we need a list of each one of these items. So let's make a list. We'll call it arg list for check, right? Or I guess it was case check. And that's going to equal all those things. So args 1, 2, args 3, 4, and args 5, 6. Bam. And then for a, just giving it a variable name. So for a, for arguments, in arg list for case check, give it the colon, and then tell it to do case check of whatever that item is. So that will be A. Bam. I think that'll work. Yeah, save it, see what happens. If it works again, we should be gravy. We should be gravola. It works. Oh, it feels so good, and we can test. What happens if I give it something stupid that no one knows about? Let's change this U to a G. Right? Yeah. It says invalid option, as it should. Tells you, hey, you need to look at this. Now, this is kind of like exposing some of the underlying code, but I feel good about that right now. That's totally fine, right? Because it's giving me, hey, the index is out of range there, buddy. Hey, that's saying password files, but hey, that's cool. What else do we want to do? We want to change the order, right? Let's change the order. Make sure ordering works. So I'll do -w of passwords.txt. And it works. And it gives us the thing. Oh man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling real good. Tests are fun. Oh, what happens if I don't give it enough stuff, right? Hey, look at that. Enter target URL, http:// just make sure it works, I guess. 192.168.1.163/bwap/login.php. And that is usernames.txt and passwords.txt. And money. I love it. Whew. What are we at? We're just a little over an hour. This was a long episode, kids. This should have been like 3 episodes. I just couldn't figure out a good way to like bring everything together. It felt like it needed to exist in the same space. All right, trust me, I thought about it. I thought it was like, oh, maybe we could just do function, maybe we could just do set, maybe, but we kind of robbed it of the context at that point. It's just like, okay, we did something, but we won't see if it works until, I guess that's the dangers of working within a specific context, is that you have to see things through from time to time if you actually want to test to make sure they work. But man, I'm tired, but I'm glad you joined me on this epic ride. I am going to put this to bed. This brute force, the web app brute force tool, the brute force web app tool, I'm going to call it done. But that is not the end of the Python series. I am going to take a little break from doing Python stuff so that I can work on what the next thing we're going to build is and what I want to teach you when it comes to Python. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got a lot out of it. If you did, you know what to do. Like and subscribe. Notification bells to let you know when that next Python, getting punchy, the next Python episode drops. You got to hit the notification bell so you see when it happens. That said, thank you yet again. And until next time, keep hacking.